I'm Anna Cott, a sustainability planner at East West Gateway Council of Governments, and really glad to be here with you all today talking about this topic. We at East West Gateway help coordinate OneSTL, our region's collaborative sustainability initiative. So we have these monthly sustainability labs, both on Zoom and in person at T-Rex. And the next one is about a food waste reduction strategy. The city committed to make a strategy to reduce food waste by December of 2024. And some local nonprofits are working in a OneSTL subcommittee to reduce food waste, and they're hoping to help them. So that's May 28th at 3:45. And I did want to introduce our speakers for today too about energy burden. We have Tori Cheatham here, the Director of Outreach and Education at Renew Missouri, and she's been working at Renew for around 4 years and has an MS in environmental science from Southern Illinois University. And Jackie Hutchinson is also here from the Missouri Consumers Council. She's the Director of Advocacy, and she previously served as Executive Director of the Missouri Consumers Council after retiring for more than 40 years working at community action agencies. So they are on either side of me. I'll pass it to Tori if you want to do a further introduction, or and then we'll just pass it around the room.
Sure. Yeah. No, thank you. That's pretty much all about me. I've been at Renew for 4 years. I work in our St. Louis office, and I help a lot with our, like I said, outreach and education and research and various tasks that Renew Missouri does. And I'll talk a little bit more about Renew Missouri later on my presentation.
I'm Joe Fetter. I work at with Anna and Aaron at East West Gateway. I work in the research department, so I do a lot of work with all of our departments. And so I work with Anna and Aaron on a lot of data stuff regarding their sustainability efforts.
Don Logue with Urban Eco Block.
I'm Aaron Young, the Sustainability Planning Manager at East West Gateway.
Justin Heidelberg, Executive Director at Cabinet District Community Development Corporation.
Connie Taylor, Ameren, Senior Manager for Energy Equity Solutions.
Evan Fowler, also Ameren, and I report to Connie.
Jackie Hutchinson, and I've already been introduced.
And maybe we can start with the people online. The first person I see is Kelly. You can introduce yourself if you're able, and then pass it to the next person online.
Okay, well, I am Kelly Martin. I am admin support for the General Counsel.
Rourke?
Yes, hi. I work at Monarch Immigrant Services as a clinical mental health therapist, and honestly, I'm here because I've been trying to find what's been going on in terms of sustainability in St. Louis. So I decided to hang out and learn.
Morgan?
Hey everyone, my name is Morgan Guile. I work at the Electric Power Research Institute, EPRI, in their Strategic Sustainability Science arm. So working a lot with corporate strategies around sustainability in the utility industry. I wish I could have been in person today, but I'm feeling under the weather. So have a beer for me.
Hope you feel better, Morgan. Melanie?
Hi, I'm Melanie Tobin. I'm the Executive Director with Missouri Energy Care, and we serve mostly seniors in St. Louis City and County who are struggling with energy needs. So I'm just here to learn and see what's happening.
Susan?
Yeah, I'm Susan Armstrong. I'm a Stormwater Commissioner for University City. I'm also a Safe Drinking Water Commissioner for the Department of Natural Resources Safe Drinking Water Branch. And again, I'm here to learn and listen.
Carol?
Hi, I'm Carol Valencia, and I'm on the Granite City Cool Cities Committee. So I really wasn't sure if this would pertain to municipalities in Illinois, but I thought I would just check it out and see.
Yeah, thanks for joining, Carol. And Cheryl?
Did you say Cheryl?
Yes.
Hello, everybody. I'm Cheryl Williams. I work with Great Rivers Greenway and as an outreach specialist. So I get to go all over the region, talk to people with all kinds of interest in sustainability and hear their success stories.
And Dana?
Hi, I'm Dana Gibney Wallace. I'm with the St. Louis County Department of Public Health. I just saw the agenda and it caught my interest.
And I think the last person online I see is Shelby.
Yeah, hey everyone. I'm Shelby McNeil and I'm on the sustainability team at Ameren. I thought it was an interesting topic, so happy to learn more.
And a couple more people joined us in person. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Go for it.
I'm Bobby Bonham with the Urban Eco Block.
Oh, Christian Ralph with Duke Energy.
What's it, Duke?
Awesome. And one more thing that I forgot to mention is Urban EcoBlock does have an event after this, a presentation at 5:30. So it'll be kind of, we have some networking at T-Rex, and then at 5:30, I'd love to check out their presentation, but I will pass it off to Tori.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, it's great to hear so many people are interested in what we're talking about today is energy burden. We know it's a big topic that affects many residents nationally and in St. Louis City. So I will get into it. Let's see. Oh, okay. Oh, all right, there we go. So I'm going to talk a little bit, introduce myself and the project and Jackie, and then we'll talk about the project. And then we'll go through the resource tools that we are going to be demonstrating. This is the Energy Burden Explorer tool and then the Resource Navigator. And then we'll do some questions afterwards. So I am from representing Renew Missouri. And Renew Missouri, we are a nonprofit. We were founded in 2006 with our mission to advocate and champion renewable energy and energy efficiency in the state. We do this through various ways for the Public Service Commission, which is the regulatory body that oversees the investor-owned utilities in the state. We work and lobby in Jeff City for policies that support renewable energy and energy efficiency, as well as local governments like St. Louis City and other stakeholders who are also invested in seeing renewables and energy efficiency become powerhouse in the state. I am working on this project with Andrew Linares as well. He cannot be here today, but I'm happy to be here with you guys. And our wonderful partners, Consumers Council of Missouri, Jackie's here, and I would love for her to talk about what they do and yeah.
Yeah, so Consumers Council is a advocacy organization, and we're not a direct services organization. Services for families, so we advocate in the area of utilities, which includes energy efficiency, and personal finance, banking, equitable services from banks, and then healthcare. Those are our three main issues, but we take on other issues as we see ourselves able to. So we're partners in the, and do you want to go first? Because our part of the partnership includes engaging the community. And I want to talk in detail about how we do that. So I'm going to turn it back to you, and then I'll jump in and talk about the community advisory committees and how we inform the work using people who are impacted by high energy burden. And are you going to define high energy?
I am, yeah. So yes, I will.
We kind of tag team.
Yeah, this is a group presentation. So we were funded in 2022 by the Missouri Foundation for Health to research and educate the community on energy burdens in the St. Louis metro area. And this comes in two parts. We were working on developing an interactive web tool or resources using utility data and looking at energy burdens based on this real-time utility data from Ameren. And then the second part is community engagement and education, which is where Jackie's Consumers has really been amazing and our partner with. essentially what we want this project to do is to use this tool to create a narrative around advocacy, to secure more funding and inspire policy changes that address energy burdens in our area and that affect those who are most affected by energy burdens. So the scope of work over the past 3 years, so our first year was, and I will say that the timeline has changed because this is a very intense project and has been, the release of the web tool has taken, a little bit longer, or it's just taking time. So, but in the first year, we have worked with our partners, the utilities, to secure the data from them. This is energy data, and I'll go more into that later on. And then also the public engagement piece, which Jackie will talk about. And then the second year is developing this tool and the launch of the Energy Burden Explorer. We are still waiting to launch the tool. I think we'll be really close in the next month or so. And then in the last year, which is the year we are on now, is using this tool and outreach to engage the public and make inform some policy changes. So that is the scope of our the past 3 years of what we've been doing with this project. And so, Jackie, I have the slides that are energy burden after this. Do you want me to? Do you want to talk about the community engagement, or should I? Okay.
Yeah. So one of the things that Consumers Council does is we engage the community, the impacted community. So those who are low and moderate income, who are suffering from high energy burden, those who live in neighborhoods where there's housing that is not efficiently weatherized, and to have a voice in what is going on. So we do that in several ways. One of the most effective ways is our community advisory committees. So we have groups of individuals who come together and meet, and they get informed about energy burden and energy burden tools, but also resources for alleviating some of their energy burden. And then they hold meetings in their community and to inform others. So we're passing the word through the community advisory committees, but also we use them as when we have public hearings, we utilize their voices, I should say, rather than use them. We utilize their voices to make public comments about how different policies are going to impact them. So how utility rate increases. So we have them come to public hearings and talk, before Ameren and Spire and MSD and the water rates, and tell their story about how those things impact them, but also to learn about the different programs that may be available to help them alleviate their high energy burden. The groups have been very, very successful. They've also made comments and recommendations as the energy tool was being developed. And so one of the biggest things that we learned from them is that a lot of them already know that there's high energy burden in their neighborhood, and they want to use the tool to find resources. And so that led to us building, or Renew Missouri building a robust, area on the site where people can look up different resources to use to get energy efficiency, or to get utility assistance, or other information about how they can reduce utility bills. For example, there'll be information on how to buy things for free on a utility company's website, or programs that they may be eligible for if they don't quite qualify, because a lot of the people who are suffering from high energy burden are those that are right on the margin. So they don't qualify for the traditional utility assistance. They're retired folk who are trying to hold on to their homes, and they, and they're, they don't know where to find any of the assistance that they may qualify for. So there are links, there'll be links to low cost, no cost solutions that they can take. We're looking forward to the energy burden tool being launched. They've already seen it. The advisory committee has made recommendations for changes, and those changes are being implemented in the tool. So we feel like it'll be a tool that not only can be used for agencies like the ones represented here, but small community organizations and individuals that want to impact their whole community. So that's it. Any questions?
Did you form these advisory committees just for the energy burden study, or do you cover other topics with them that Consumer Council?
Yeah, so they inform, so when we wrote the grant, Consumers Council had a separate grant to deal with the utility, intervening in utility rates and utility rate cases and that kind of thing. And so we partnered because both of us wanted to do the same thing. And so the advisory committees not only inform the energy burden tool, but rate case hearings that we have, other public hearings that may be coming about. What we did was we held trainings, and those who needed trainings on how to make a presentation before the Public Service Commission, we trained them to do that. We went through a 6-week training, and then we provide them with transportation if necessary to get back and forth to those hearings, and just help them be comfortable testifying. One of the most impactful testimonies we had was in the Spire case, when we had a whole group of seniors who went to one location and got on camera, and one by one they came up to the podium and spoke about how increase in rates would impact them. And so they meet on a regular basis. They choose the topics that they want us to help them with, and so we serve them in bringing the right people to the table. A lot of concerns about MSD, a lot of concerns about water. So we bring the right people to the table so that they can learn and they can have input.
Okay, so it's beyond just energy. Any sort of community issue.
It focuses mostly around energy. However, sometimes their issues are beyond energy, and so we help connect them to whatever the issues are they're trying to resolve. But it is mostly around energy and banking. Safe and affordable bank accounts. We bring in banks to talk to them about security and those kind of things. So, yeah.
Okay, well, we'll keep going, but we can keep answering questions as we go along. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about energy burden, what it actually means, and give some context over why this is important. So an energy burden is defined as the percentage of gross annual income spent on energy costs. So on average in a year, average household will spend around 3% of their energy on, or 3% of their income paying for their energy bills. However, a household that experiences high energy burdens, can spend around, or it can be around 8% or up to 15%. So it's a much higher percentage of the energy burden is much higher percentage for lower income households, almost 3 times as much than the average person. A quarter of low-income households have an energy burden above 14%. That's nationally. So that's a lot and too much. And in some areas, depending on the location, some energy burns can be as high as 30%. So that is just a way too high. And so this just provides a little more context as to how severe the problem is, and not just nationally, but also in St. Louis as well. Out of 48 largest cities in the US, St. Louis places 6th highest for energy burns on African-American households. So this is a very affected area in St. Louis. And so we want to, this leads to not just high bills, but also leads to housing insecurity, eviction, decisions on, to buy a medication or what food to buy. So energy burden is a large indicator of it can lead to other severe problems as well. There's also an impact, we call it the health energy nexus. There's a relationship between energy efficiency and health related problems like COPD and asthma. There are many studies that show this link, that with improved energy efficiency, like the weatherization of a home or improved envelope, can reduce the risk of being hospitalized due to asthma attacks or certain respiratory illnesses. So something that this tool also does is link utility data with respiratory events that have occurred. And so that is something that is very interesting to us and to this tool. So a little bit more about the mapping tool. This tool was built by our partners at Powered City. Basically, it's a visualization of energy burdens and related factors like income, the energy costs, demographic variables. And this is aggregated by census tract. And I will show you, I'll show the tool itself in a bit. What makes this tool unique is that it actually uses authentic Ameren data. That was an agreement in a rate case that we had gotten with the company back in 2021. Spire's data is still coming to us, and it is voluntary, which is really great for them. We wanted to applaud them for giving us that data. And then we're also working on Evergy on the other side of the state. So we really want to make this tool a whole statewide resource. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing, share my other screen. Right, so this is our prototype right now. We call it the Missouri Energy Burden Explorer. And here you can see the Ameren service territory. And and here are the census tracts with our information. So you scroll into city, sorry, it's kind of okay. And you can scroll in and pick a census tract. And here it shows right now, this is only electricity. So this is only telling half the story. We really need the gas data in to tell the full picture of what energy burdens are looking like. But here we have the average monthly or electricity cost for that census tract, and then the percentage of energy burden, that energy burden percentage number right there. The darker the census tract, the higher the percentage, higher the energy burden. As you scroll down, we have these other factors that we find interesting and complete the story. So we have the population, the percentage of children, seniors, the low income, and other useful variables. Here we see, the asthma rates. These are data points from the Missouri Department of Health. And then you scroll down further and you see the electricity usage over time for that census tract, and that is on a year basis. So this is where we're at, and we are also going to include some resources down here. These probably will not this will include the Navigator resource tool, which I will show you next. So I wanted to pause, see if anyone has any questions. Yes.
So where is the energy burden data coming from? Like, where is the source of that? Is it like using the Justice 40 or some of the
So
census data?
that data is from the utility. So we're getting the aggregated utility costs from.
Look at them fun facts go.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
And then.
I appreciate it.
No, this.
In a very, that's
Protective way.
yeah, from the standpoint of it being aggregated.
Yes.
and Not down at the customer level.
Not the meter
So
level,
being able to protect customer data
Appreciate that.
is first and foremost, yes.
Yeah, and I just want to add that the value of that is that when you go to the sites like the Justice 40 site or the government sites, their data is coming from census data. And it could be as old as the last census, or it could be taken from, the annual housing census that's not done every year. But it's usually 3 or 4 years at the very least behind. The advantage of this is that we'll be getting annual data from the utility companies, and it's relevant to our area, and it's not aggregated in the census in any way. Yeah,
The national data.
yeah,
It is more accurate.
it is.
And then more telling, and it's much more accurate for our own neighborhoods in our areas. So, and it's something that we are working on is, census data is not, it's not really like, it's hard. People don't know what census they live in. So we're trying to come up with a zip code overlay, some sort of something to help them, or maybe type in their address where they can zoom in on their address to see where their census
Identified
is.
by the wards.
That is something we have talked about, and we have discussed, and it might be too difficult to do that.
Okay.
So I think the solution there is to have like a zip code search function, which type in their address and it'll, point them like a Google map. So, yeah.
So census block is another more discrete level, but again, you get into the issue of redacting, certain properties, but if you have a filtering system where you can, but you can't go to that level because census tracts can have a wide variety of, let's say, shades, even at that level. The other thing about the census data is not every household participates. Matter of fact,
That's
you're
true.
looking at maybe 50%
Yeah.
in some areas. So this is terrific.
Yeah, we're really excited and really hope lots of people are gonna use it.
I've been excited about it since y'all been talking.
Me too. Are there any more questions right now? I can move on. Yes.
Is this based on residential, commercial, mixed-use structures? Or is it based on our single-family housing?
This is residential meter data, so it's also including multifamily if it's a residential, but because it's aggregated, can't identify between a multifamily and single family. So I'm pretty sure. No, not commercial.
I'm saving mine to the end.
Okay.
To give everyone else a chance to
Okay.
ask questions.
Well, I will stop sharing and I will share another screen. Okay. So we, as Jackie mentioned, we kind of know the problem exists. That's not like something we're not aware of. But the other problem is that there are so many programs and bill assistance that's all over the place, and it's not really, it's not in one area. So we wanted to create this companion tool, calling it the Missouri Energy Resource Navigator. And what it is a one-stop shop of all the bill assistance and energy efficiency programs available to customers, and we're trying to make it statewide as well. And what's also great about this tool is that we've done this, we're calling income qualifier calculator. It is not 100% accurate. Like, we're not saying that if you fill in your information, you're going to be automatically qualifying for these programs. This is a rough estimate of based on current income guidelines for certain income qualifying programs like LIHEAP or certain utility programs that Ameren offers, like Keeping Current and such like that. Those have certain guidelines that are only applicable if you fall within those income requirements. So this is almost we're really close to being done, having this prototype done, and then we'll be able to share with our advisory group and get some more feedback on user experience. But from here, you would select your provider, your household income or your numbers, and then these are the brackets. Let's say you this much, and then you're a citizen, and then what comes up here is the list of programs that are within those qualifications that you specified. Then you would look at this and it would take you down to the Clean Slate program. And here we have, so each of these are programs with the description, the what are the qualifying, and then how to apply. This was a lot of work to compile all this information, and it's going to continue to be, we're going to have to continue to update this. It's already changed when I first wrote this. I mean, the income guidelines already changed. So this will be an ongoing project. We did go through, yeah, that with the MIA rate case happening, a lot of these energy efficiency programs could go away. So we don't know what the future is for some of these programs, unfortunately. So yes.
So I'm curious from Ameren's perspective. So you provide a lot of information to your customers that even allows them to compare their house based on square foot, others in the area. I know because I looked at my numbers and said, wait a minute, this is too high, and made adjustments accordingly to insulation and so on. So how do we get these databases working together for bringing as many resources as possible to the various organizations that are active in the different neighborhoods?
I think that's part of the reason why we're here.
Yeah.
For us to figure that out. We need it to be as holistic and accessible as possible, and part of the challenge is different systems, different, you have Community Action Agency and you have urban leagues, you have so many different players, but the more that we can be effective in bringing the players to the table together to figure out what's that ecosystem that works best for any customer type. That's the goal, as far as I see it. I can't speak for everyone, but that's the way we see. That's part of the reason why we have our Energy Equity Solutions group at Ameren, is that we're really trying to figure that out. I came from the Urban League. That was my genesis, and used to run the weatherization and energy assistance LIHEAP program there. Worked very closely with Jackie and other organizations. And you can have great programs, but you have to have them accessible. Communications is key. You can communicate a program over and over and over again. There are trust factors, fear factors, time, life. So just trying to figure out how to put together the best solution that's inclusive, accessible. It's doable. I feel like we're getting there. It's a process. I'm in a hurry too. I'm hurry there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what's also wonderful about this, what we're trying to do here, is that we're trying to connect, not just, we're focusing on St. Louis, but this is a statewide problem and statewide resource. And we want people and, rural electric cooperatives maybe who don't have, access or don't know about, certain funding opportunities for them or things like that. And at some point we want to include some of the IRA rebates when they are available on here too. So, our thinking was this was to be a one-stop shop for all the resources available. Because I to my knowledge, I can't find anything that's similar to like this in online, where it's easily described and everything is up to date and, clear, concise instructions on how, because some programs are all a little different and who to contact and where to apply. And so that was the goal of this resource tool.
I appreciate all you all's hard work that you all put into this. It's something very much needed to be able to, like you said, a one-stop shop to where you can find these resources. Whether you got a computer or your cell phone,
yeah,
you can find this. And if I could add something, what about creating a QR code for people to be able to access this?
That's so easy to do. I can make it right now. Yeah, and I also would love, when we, we'll be able to send this out. I'd love people to, if they have suggestions on user experience or anything to make this better. Maybe we want this to be as friendly as.
Let's get a chat box.
All right.
To be on there,
We actually, at the bottom, we do have an intake form of like, are there concerns about, what your experience, maybe in some of these programs or what you need as a resident, what are some of the things
who
that
would
you.
it go to answer the questions?
Well, right now it would go to me, so.
Okay. Could there be, thinking about that, would there be a way to partner with like, what else people I think about, United Way, the Urban League, for, to be able to answer like, let's just say Ms. Johnson says she's having problems with the site, or she's maybe not even computer literate to where she can do this, and her email, like say if it comes to you and you might send it to the Urban League.
Yeah.
Or to Ms.
That'd be
Jackie
great.
here.
So I'd love to have that connection, or to a.
The United Way 211 Community Information Exchange is probably.
It's the best way, yeah.
Where, there's that whole thing of, folks have multiple needs. But, having to tell your story over and over and over again, and this situation and that situation, I think that would be a very worthy, very worthwhile collaboration.
It's a great idea.
There's also a comment online.
Yeah.
Is it possible to give people an ETA for a response to filling out the form?
24, 48 hours.
What, like filling out,
I guess they look quick.
when they fill out that, like what, if I read it, like what the response time?
I'm guessing, Rourke, did you want to come off mute to clarify anything?
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking about that bottom part of that form. I guess, yeah, response time, like if people want to write about what concerns they have, maybe a response would let them know that their concern just didn't go into the ether.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think this probably begs a further development on our part is, if people are telling us or, asking for help, like what is our next step? Is it I reach out to a partner at a community agency, or like what is that next step? And that we probably actually need to define that a little bit more right now. So thank you for everyone raising that to my attention.
Do you have any thoughts on the timeline of when this might be public?
Right now we're waiting mostly on gas utility data, and then I think I'm really hopeful maybe by the end of May. I mean, this is and if the map's not done, the navigator tool will definitely be done by then.
Okay.
Like, yeah, this is a lot closer to being finished. And I also wanted to say, I did forget that we are also partnering with Sierra Club to come out with a report that is kind of like that environmental racism report that came out, but it's going to be more on energy burden. And that is going to be kind of like an analysis of our tool and highlighting what the patterns are. That will be probably more geared for like stakeholders and other people interested in, these kind of groups that are interested in that more in-depth analysis of what the tool is finding, or the map is showing us.
Have you guys talked about, I mean, I see the value in finding out what the portion of average costs are for income, but is there any data about like turnoffs or cutoff?
Disconnection data.
Disconnection.
We are also getting disconnection data as well. Yeah.
So that seems like it would really help Ameren prioritize what areas to do their outreach in. Will that be on here?
Yeah, I know we're getting the disconnection data. I am not sure in what capacity it'll be. I think we'll have it on the map. but
I think it's gonna be.
yeah, that was important to us. Although it will be by census tract, so you're getting,
Yeah, but still, it'll show
that it
you,
will be,
like, if-
I honestly, that's probably one of the most interesting story points right there is where the most disconnections are happening. Okay. Well, we already talked about the resource navigator. So, as I mentioned, we are really close to doing some education outreach on this, releasing the tool. Oh, sorry, if anyone has any, suggestions or, would like to disseminate these resources or partner with us on, posting on your website or some sort of, something to do with, getting it out, please don't hesitate to email me, or we can talk after this, or, yeah. And that's it. So thank you for everyone. Thank you all for your time.
So are you guys gonna hire like 3 employees to keep this up to date?
Yeah, no, we have interns who help us some with like, like getting all the information for the tool, the navigator tool was like, that was a lot of work because every utility each has their own way of displaying their information. I will say Ameren does a really good job actually on their website, just explain, like, I thought some of the programs were well explained, which was great. But on Evergy side, I can't even access because you have to like be in their zip code. You have to be a utility customer. So I couldn't even look at what programs they offer. So
You couldn't put no zip codes in?
yeah, I could do like a VPN or something.
Like I, we'll go and do research because we're always trying to find out what other utilities are doing, what are other programs. And it is some of the information is right there and accessible. Some you have to know the state, you have to know the zip code, and things vary so much. But research organizations.
Yeah.
Oregon Guile.
Yeah.
Folks like that can help out with some of that information as well.
Definitely, yeah. So I'm staying up to date with the, all the income guidelines changed. They just changed, I mentioned last time, and so this needs like someone who's working in this space continually to keep this going. So hopefully, our funding is over at the end of this semester, or I think year, yeah, and semester, right? And so we'll be looking to
This is the 3rd year.
try and continue to host this and make it work. So it's been a lot harder than we thought it was going to be, but worthwhile.
I got a question. Is anyone aware of what way is the city playing a role in this? As I shared earlier, they're about to be a recipient, as you all just said, a dual recipient of solar farm, and I'm thinking about electrification. Like how and what ways can we use this tool, at least as well as the city, more so as we start talking about the new type of affordable housing.
Yeah.
And affordable housing for those that live north of Delmar is broader than low income housing. So how can this help, and what role can they begin, and then our elected officials begin to start thinking about policy and ordinance for like the building exchange, create that policy that every new building over a certain square feet has to be like solar ready.
Yeah.
Now we have this program coming in, and plus what you all have, how and what ways can they all work together to help create something that will ultimately be the reverse of this? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the first thing that came to my mind was I've kind of talked with the director of sustainability, Alicia, and she's really interested in what we're doing, and so she's aware, and she has talked about us partnering, like hosting this on her website, on the website maybe, which would be a really great tool for, I know a lot of people go to the St. Louis City website, so that would be amazing if we could have it on, have some sort of partnership there. And then, you remind me of efforts right now that are happening on the rental energy exposure. And I think that this, I can't tell in what capacity this interacts with that, but this, is bringing up the bigger issue of St. Louis City and how we are, the things that are happening. And so I couldn't answer that right now, but they definitely are, the people in the city are aware of this, and I hope, and we're trying in this next stage, when it's finally out there, that we will be working, I want to work with them as closely as I can to, for them to help us promote this as well.
Thank you.
And I think another way that it can be helpful is to inform policy. And so if the Board of Aldermen is making policy on what neighborhoods to target or things like that, it should be helpful. And if any of you are advocating for your neighborhood or any projects or energy efficiency, you can use this data to make a public case for whatever the issue is that is related. So I think it has some important uses if we all remember it and remember to pull that data and quote that data when it's relevant and will make a difference.
Yeah, and that's exactly why we created it, was to support the policy narrative that we want to see to address these energy burns. And I think something else I didn't bring up was I would love to see this as kind of a way for utilities to use targeted marketing for those census tracts and specific for those programs that think I don't know a lot about utility marketing, but I would love to see maybe that we could work on that together or something like that. So
we do some of that. We don't do that in conjunction with Spire, so.
Right,
But we do examine, where we have.
The numbers, okay.
Our goal is to really try to get information to people so that they're not facing a disconnection, or so that disconnection can be avoided. And even things like payment agreements. Payment agreements may sound good, feel good. I'm personally not a big fan of payment agreements, especially coming from the energy assistance world, where I know sometimes there can be enough packaged together from an energy assistance standpoint to resolve, help a customer, partner with a customer to resolve a situation, as opposed to going into a payment agreement. But there's that, but again, Aspire may do the same thing.
Sure.
Evergy may do, but that collective information.
Are you able to share an update on where the rental energy disclosure ordinance, kind of the status of that, and maybe a little bit of background for anyone here who's not familiar?
Yeah, so we drafted some rough draft policy on a rental energy disclosure, which basically means that, and it works in different ways in different parts of the country, and but how it has been done is that when let's say you are looking for an apartment and you see in the listing it said this average bill or average monthly electricity bill of this apartment is this amount, and so at the time of listing you are being transparent about what these average bill is. We have been trying to work with some city aldermen and trying to get this something written and ordinance passed on an energy rental disclosure in the St. Louis city. This has been going on for a couple of years now. It has had several iterations. It has ebbed and flowed because there's not one person managing it. It's kind of just like a group of stakeholders working together to try and get this done. So right now, I think Megan Green's office is working with us to include that into their tenant bill of rights. Their tenant bill of rights also includes a rental registry, which is essentially a platform for people to look at where nuisance violations are and other things about a potential or where who the owner is of that building. So it's a little more transparency on multifamily ownership in that sense. So at the moment, it is we're just in talks with the Megan Green's office, and we're trying to working out some of the kinks of how this would work, because it's pretty complicated, and asking do we host another website for people to look at their potential energy costs for an apartment, or is it on the utility to send it to the city, and the city how do we enforce landlords to do this? So there's a lot of questions to be asked about that policy.
How do you get? Because a lot of landlords aren't responsible for the electricity, it's the tenants, and the landlord doesn't see the bills. How do you get a particular apartment's average?
So the landlord can, they can see the bill.
Oh.
Yeah, so like, I don't know if y'all know Dana Gray, probably do, but she manages her buildings, and she said she can call Ameren and ask for the utility costs of her building, and they'll send it to her.
For the building.
For the building, right? So the way the disclosure would work is that you would do like the average annual costs monthly for the building, and then you would have to do it like divided by square foot and then apartment number, some sort of like calculation that would remove itself from being very more aggregated, instead more granular, to avoid privacy concerns. So
Still, it's a ballpark.
it is sorry, yes,
not
it
that
is
you're
an
getting-
estimate. Yeah, sorry. That is when I'm talking about all this data disclosure stuff, it is almost always an estimate. It is not the
I also had a question for Jackie. I was really curious about the community advisory groups and the comments that they're making. And I was wondering, I just feel like it's such a great idea because it can be really confusing for people to comment on public policy. And I was wondering if you could share if there was a kind of a success story of when they had an impact, and any like upcoming efforts that they're working on.
Sure. So I think at every public hearing that they've testified at has been somewhat of a success story. And for example, when people raise issues and make them personal, then it gets the attention of the utility company representative. So at the Spire hearing, we had quite a number of seniors who talked about, not having the ability to pay more for their utilities, and that being the straw that might have made them, have to sell their home or whatever. And so when we one of the things that the interveners do is we ask for negotiations. And so as we negotiated, it caused them to raise the income guideline, because most of the seniors were a little bit over the guidelines that, they weren't eligible for the programs, the utility sponsored programs. And so it allowed them to understand that there were a lot of people who needed help that weren't getting help, and they were more willing to increase the guidelines. With Ameren, and Ameren has always been sensitive to, the people who come in and testify. So we've had several programs redesigned, for example, the Keeping Cool program, which gives folk credit during the summer months. One of the things that we heard was that summers are getting longer. It's still hot in September, and folk can't pay their bills. And the program was really developed to help seniors and people with children under 5 who were more susceptible to heat-related illness, to encourage them to use their air conditioning. Because, back in the day, we had seniors, dying in their homes with air conditioning because they were afraid to turn them on. So it's sort of an encouragement. And in one particular testimony that I know hit the hearts of all of them was a lady who testified to the fact that she won't turn her electric on during the summer. She won't turn her air conditioning on, I should say, during the summer, unless it's 100 degrees, outside, because she's afraid to get a bill that she can't pay. And she just won't turn it on. And so the fact that she's getting, that she signs up and gets that credit, makes her feel more comfortable because she pays her bill in full on time. And if she doesn't have the ability to do that, she won't use that electric. So those kinds of stories, they make the points that we as advocates are trying to make. And they're, breathing examples of the difference that it's making. So. Yeah, there are lots of other, examples with the water, with the sewer district and the water. We weren't as successful in getting the rate reductions like we got with Ameren and with Spire. We weren't as successful. However, they committed to us that they would work on programs to, that they would fund relief programs. And so the sewer district had a program, where you would only have to pay 50% of your bill if you were a senior at a certain income level. Nobody knew about it. Very few people had signed up, and they alleged that they didn't know why people weren't signing up. And I had never heard of the program, and I ran utility assistance programs for many, many years, never heard of the program. And so the fact that people came out and said, hey, you claim you have this program, we don't know where to get it from, we've never heard of it, and all of that made them become more transparent, seek more partners to make sure that folk had access to the programs, and also to send their staff out to community events and to to speak to the public, which they had never done before.
Are there any other questions from people in the room or people online?
This was briefly brought up, but this is not a St. Louis specific topic. Are there other examples of successes or frankly even failures with this attempt to aggregate, to communicate, to facilitate? I didn't necessarily mean all those 3 words. So yeah, I mean, have you found other examples of this kind of work?
So I think we mentioned it before. I think there are other databases that have like modeling and using census data for energy burdens. But what's unique about this data is that it is actually utility data from Ameren and our local utilities. And that has a certain level of granularity to it that makes it more specific to our neighborhoods. So in the broad sense, nationally, yes, there are data sets that you can, somewhat tell the picture. Like, yes, we know energy burns are happening, but for what makes this special is that it has the real utility data. So.
And then I know you touched on this, and then maybe I just didn't pick up what you were dropping down. Is there a feedback loop? Is there some way, like when y'all are, I know it's not launched yet, but utilization of the data usually then validates continual work to keep it up, like you were saying, grant money for that. Is there success measures that are built into the rollout? Or 2 years from now, if X, Y, or Z has been achieved, then yay.
We don't have any like concrete numbers that we are goals or that we're trying to achieve with those success measures. But I think we will use, we're going to keep monitoring and doing benchmarking of who is using the tool and when. So we can do website analytics, right, on that. And so I am hopeful that, when it's live and we're tracking, we can use that to say, people are using this, give us money to keep using it.
Yeah,
so,
that's where.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's not something that we had explicitly written out in our proposal for the funding, but that's something that we can, I think, continue to do. So, yeah.
It's a good idea.
Yes, yeah.
Well, that was one thing on the policy side.
Yeah.
Just kind of awareness
Right.
that it is in fact being utilized by the board element or whatever. That does help for the whole, yeah, you like this?
Right, yeah.
Have to pay for it?
Yeah, yeah, give us money. Yeah, and we actually, and we've gotten money from Evergy now to do it. So they are very interested in supporting this as well, so. Yeah.
I was curious, where you said at the beginning, does your funding come from?
Well, for this project specifically is from the Missouri Foundation for Health. So they have funded our projects before, but because we've incorporated some of this the health aspect as well, which is something that I think we could all expand on. And hopefully in our report, we will also include more information about that. But that was our funder for this project.
I have one more question about the tool navigator.
Mhm.
And this might be a question more for the people from Ameren in the room, if they're comfortable answering, but I'm always curious, those programs for assistance, if more outreach is needed, or if those are kind of all subscribed up. I guess for lack of a better word, I get the impression that at the community action agencies, they often have long wait lists for their weatherization programs. But I was curious if Ameren has found that there is still a huge need to get the word out, to get more people subscribed to those programs.
I'm not sure that I understand your question. I mean, because
Okay.
when you say something like about say the weatherization assistance program, for instance, I would just say, I know that there have been collaborations, even back when I was at an agency running a weatherization assistance program. We would work with utilities to help get information out about those programs. And if from a funding perspective, if you are developing a wait list, or we have a wait list because of it being subscribed, then we're not putting information out from that's from my agency experience. But I'm trying to make sure I understand your question.
I think you did answer it, and I don't know if maybe there are no specific ones for Ameren on
No,
there.
I think she's asking like the Keeping Cool program, Ameren has a set budget, right, for offering that program. What she's asking is, do you keep track of how much of that budget you've used, or if you run out of it?
Oh, yeah.
So
I would say any of these programs, whether you're talking our programs, whether you're talking LIHEAP, for instance, which is what you would see at your CAP agencies, having to watch the dollars and how you're able to be subscribed is basic, is required,
And just to piggyback, like every program that we have, whether it is energy efficiency, energy assistance, even, I think even rebates from solar, there's an internal program manager who's kind of managing dollars, managing outreach activities, specifically around energy assistance, right? I mean, that group, they do a lot of outreach, partnering with Urban League. I think the answer to yes.
That you tend to see them, the budget for that assistance is always used up.
Yeah, okay, so you're talking about utilization.
Yeah.
I think it just really depends on.
Oh, okay.
And it really depends on the timing, and it really depends on the initial budget. I think that the goal is, you're trying to maximize outreach and connection. But there are programs like, I want to say like a clean slate program. I think it's pretty much at a point of maximization. Keeping Cool, Keeping Current, there are dollars available right now for Keeping Cool, Keeping Current. The CAP agencies, this is May, so they're coming up on their summer programs for LIHEAP. Those dollars are going to be flowing, June 1st?
Yes.
So you have your cycles, And you just have to, it varies by program.
So is this the way for us to plug in with IRA trickle down, the Inflation Reduction Act that's going to do something significant? He's been saying for 2 years now. So is this a method to see, oh, that's how I get my new windows?
Well, so I can tell you that Missouri is, they're going to be receiving receiving comments for the funds for the IRA energy efficiency rebates, which is great, which means that it's actually going to be happening. There was not a lot of news on that front for like a year, and we were like, is Missouri doing anything? But they are doing it. So is this the front for, all that, intake of information on, I don't know. I mean, I guess I want to include all the information on here, but at the same time, I don't want to overcrowd the important information for energy assistance. But I also think energy efficiency is, the cure, not and assistance is kind of like a Band-Aid. We want homes to be more efficient so they are not having as high energy bills to begin with. So I think if we were to include the IRA, all the IRA information, we might need to rework this site a little bit to make it more accessible and because of all the information.
That has information, that's someone's gonna have to share it.
Yeah, and I know, I mean, there are some, I'm pretty sure there's some other websites that are like Rewiring America has a lot of information on the IRA rebates. It's very well described and these energy plans. So I think that's definitely a future question that we'll have to.
It's more the go side. There's plenty of information out there.
Yeah.
It's just all right, now things are not
Yeah.
conceptual that
Right.
I'm struggling to see. And it's because it's
Yeah.
conceptual. So that's why I'm not seeing that bullet go up
Right.
in the great news. It's
Right.
fine.
Because it's not here yet. So but when I really hope that when the state is finally rolling out the actual programs, there will be something that people can go to be like, I want a new heat pump and this is how I'm gonna get it. And that's what we really need. We really need something that's that simple.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
If I could, sir, for you to do what you asked her in your initial question, the Inflation Reduction Act, awarded 31 partners throughout the whole state of Missouri and some people from the Kansas City, Kansas side to train and employ people to do home audits like they did, 15 years ago, but set on electrification upgrades and also seeing, once again, where are the leaks and all those other things. So maybe this summer, they'll be out and about around the state, trying to find people who can do those jobs and train them so they can go do what you're talking about, but at the same time, connect those two together, if that makes sense. My house, I got 20 windows, 15 of them leaky. My basement's leaky or whatever other things you may find in a house, in a home audit, energy audit, and so whenever they roll out the money, you'll see people.
Well, because there's the Hammer and Pays program right now, which is the energy audit. It's just step 2 is
On-bill tariff, yeah.
what to do with it. You get the data, but then I still can't afford the windows.
Yeah, and that's why that nice rebates we hope, which they say should be out in January. The application should be ready in January 2025.
Okay.
That's what they say.
Here's hoping we have the right administration to facilitate.
No, that's most likely.
It would be nice to have those auditors have all that information at the ready so they can tell people how they can get discounts on those types of things. And I thought that the rebates were mentioned on this page, but it says they're coming in 2025 But I
Yeah,
can't
so
saw the
the
rebates and
the
tax
old-
credits on there.
It is.
Oh,
It's
is it
listed
not
right
going to
there.
be on the final version, do you think?
I think we'll include it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I'm hesitant to say like this is gonna be like the place to find like itemized rebates, because I don't think, I'm hesitant to say that that would be this function. but I don't want to discount them because they are important, and this energy efficiency is really, really important. So,
That makes sense. I do feel like it's helpful there. I noticed.
Yeah.
When I was looking through it.
Yeah, it continues the coming soon.
Yeah.
ish.
Right. And everyone's, yeah.
Luckily, I'm interested in seeing that movie,
Yeah.
but, yeah.
Well, if your DNR is accepting comments on how to use the funds that they're getting, let's see, almost 140 million per, or divide for the HERA and the homes rebates program. So they're doing it. They just need to, I think next year, 2025 is when we'll actually start to see them. And Missouri just got a bunch of money for solar, so that's great too. The Solar for All program, 156 million to do low income solar projects. So we're really excited about that.
So that's called Solar for All.
Yes, it's a portion of the Inflation Reduction Act, and so the EIERA, which no one knows what the acronym stands for, is the one that has received that.
General sense, like when I say, what's that acronym stand for? You can
No, it's just like a joke that everyone's like, I can't quite remember because it's really long, and I can't quite remember either. But the EIERA it's easy to say. So, and so that is they just announced last week that they received 156 million to do low income community solar projects in the state. Yeah.
Well, are there any other questions from people in person or final questions from people online? Okay, well, I think we'll go ahead and close it if there are no final questions or announcements. Oh, but yeah. Yes, we do. There you go. Okay. Well, so after this, we're going to have some networking here at T-Rex, followed by the presentation by Urban Eco Block at 5:30, and then we'll see you all at next month's Sustainability Lab if you're interested on food waste reduction on May 28th. So, yeah. Thanks for coming, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you all.
Yeah.